The masses gather here to speak their piece. Some fall to the wolves. Others struggle and rise above them all. Enter into the sinister mind of our host. Dive deeper than any mortal has gone before. BODS Mayhem Hour is upon us.
Hey, this is Sean from Skullshitter, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's a huge honor and a privilege to have guitarist Sean Walsh of Skullshitter. New York City-based death grind trio Skullshitter have released their full-length album titled Goat Claw via Nerve Altar, out now. Also check out their singles digitally Reproductive World and a 67-second whiplash-inducing blur, which is Morbid Tomb. So you want to check that out. So Sean, welcome to the podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, John. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. How excited are you to get this album out so far, man? Goat Claw. How excited are you guys to get this out and be done with it and say move on?
We're very excited. We've been working on it for a long time. It's actually some of the recording sessions were the same session as when we did our last release, which was a split LP with Canadian grindcore band Bleeding Out. Mm-hmm. So some of these songs are quite old on this record, go back to 2016, 2017 or so. So we've been working on it for a while, but we're really happy with how it turned out. Those songs, those older songs, they made it on the record. That was intentional. We wanted to save those songs for the full length. Songs like the title track of the record, Goat Claw, where the song is called In the Grip of the Goat Claw. That's one of the oldest songs on the record. And that song in particular really kind of set the tone and obviously became, like a title track almost for the record.
So are you guys happy to get those old ones out though? Because they've been sitting there for so long. And I mean, you got to have more in the vault that you're still possibly going to be putting on other stuff. Maybe, is that correct or no?
Yeah. I mean, we have a few songs that we're working on. We have a couple of songs that are finished. We have a couple of songs that we're kind of half finished, and we tried to just track them and see what would happen, but they weren't ready yet. So we have a few things that we're going to be working on for the future for sure. But right now we're really just looking to see, looking to go out and support this record. Play as many shows as we can, get the record in people's hands. We're really excited about it. We think this is, a real, this is the strongest thing that we've done. We feel, it's a really cohesive record. We put a lot of effort into the songwriting process in this record. Mm-hmm. We're very excited, as you were saying, to have it completed, have it be released to the world, and have people out there enjoying it.
What led this 67-second inducing blur digital reproductive world to be the first track released off this album? What was it about that said, man, that has to be the one that comes out swinging?
We probably because it does come out swinging. I mean, it's a short song, so we knew that we could put it on Instagram because the song's just over a minute, so you can watch. Without having to go into a reel or anything, you can watch most of the video. We had our friend Frank Wang, who runs a production company called Max Volume Silence. He did a video for that song as well as our other single Morbid Tomb. So we knew we were going to be have this video content that we could put up on social media, and people would be able to very easily watch the whole song, get the whole song on social media, because that's how people, communicate and operate in the world today. But also that song, we just felt that song was a really strong song in terms of kind of showcasing what we do as a band. It's a blazing grindcore song, but it's got a little bit of touch of weirdness to it too. It's not, it's kind of a weird song. If you're listening to the riffs and the guitar solo in that song is like a little funky, and so we thought here's a bruising track that is also going to be hopefully piquing people's interest.
It's got different flavors, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this though. I know you mentioned about everybody being on social media and things like that, and plus getting music out. That's the way it is today, unfortunately. And everybody's attention span is like 2 seconds. No, but I miss the old days, and you may remember this, you may not, but I miss the old days of going back and you have to watch, you know, like MTV when it was good back in the day, you know, when they played your favorite videos, and go to the store and pick up Hit Parade or Circus Magazine, Rip, all that good stuff, man. And you find out about your bands when their album was coming out. And now it's like, it's at the touch of your finger. It's like all that. It's like I don't know. I don't want to say anything, not negative or anything, but it's like it loses that inspiration away, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's like that waiting.
No, we're not terribly young guys, so we're definitely in that boat as well. Both Rob and Ryan are both, you know, big media collectors, record collectors. You know, for me, I certainly grew up with MTV. You know, everything from like, you know, the ZZ Top Eliminator videos. I mean, classic videos. You know, to 120 Minutes, Hell's Headbangers. You know, all that type of stuff. Was really fantastic. What I really liked doing was when I would get a CD back in those days, you know, go through and read the liner notes, and like that was how you'd find more bands. Like what band, like if I like this band, what band are they thanking? You know, what band are they shouting out on the liner notes? That was what I liked.
But was there a band for you, man, that like made you go, oh God, kind of made you like freak out a little bit, not want to dive into them, and when you did, it's like I gotta have more.
Oh man, that's a great question. I guess it would really depend on like sort of like what time of my life we're talking about. I mean, like, you know, a real easy answer would be like Slayer, right? Like that, like they were a real early heavy metal influence, and one of the like, you know, one of the real early bands where it was like there's a difference between like Slayer and like Ozzy, right? Like you know, there's still like some real pop elements to like Ozzy's solo stuff. Like, even though that stuff, it rules, and I love that too. But there was like a definite difference there between like making the move from Ozzy to like Slayer. But you know, there's plenty of other bands. I mean, like, you know, first time I heard Symphonies of Sickness from Carcass, you know, like that would be another good touch point there. So there's I'm sure there's a million records.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on this album? I know these are your guys' babies, and I know that you know it changes every time that you listen to it. But are there any that's sticking out for you? Maybe
like a favorite song off the record?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I might be partial to Morbid Tomb. It's one of the longer songs on the record, and it might be that I wrote the majority of. I'm trying to think of the riffs, and I'm pretty sure I wrote the majority of them. Ryan might have written some. I don't want to take total credit, but I know I wrote the main riff in that song anyway. And that one's been a real, you know, passion project for me for a long time, and it came out really great. Rob's drums in that song are really awesome, and kind of sounds like you're getting sucked into a vortex or something. It's just like real, you know. So that's one that probably stands out for me.
Was there a track that you guys were working on that totally ended up sounding different than it was intended to when it was brought to the table for this album? Was there one, man, that just kept changing, or no?
Let me think about it. That's good. That's a great question. I would say I would just highlight the song Smoke Break, which is like a instrumental interlude, and was something that I was really pushing for. And it sounds very different. It's like a very psychedelic song. We play in standard E tuning instead of most of our songs are in a standard B tuning, so much lower. And I kind of wanted that song to be almost like a palate cleanser. Like when you're listening to something, like a little bit of a slap in the face, it refreshes you. It gets you back. Like when you come back out of that song, you're ready for more of the heaviness. And that song, we had a friend of ours do some additional like auxiliary percussion, and the song just it got a little crazy. And I was a little like worried. I was like, oh, because this is like my baby, and I was telling these guys, I'm like, oh, it'll be cool, like don't worry about it. And then when we got the finished project, I was a little worried. I was like, oh man, I hope these guys don't veto this and be like, Sean, this is like no way, man, we can't put this on the record. But they were super supportive of it, and we're actually playing a version of it live. We're not playing it like it is on the record, because we're not switching guitars or changing tuning or yada yada yada. But we're playing kind of like an adapted version of it live as like a mid set segue point, and it's really cool, man.
Has the pandemic helped the band to take more time creatively on this album? I know there's some old ones on here, and I know there's some new ones on here, but has the pandemic helped you guys more to hone in on your craft with this?
I would say it's changed things in a positive way. It was a weird time. Right before the pandemic, our drummer Rob was in a motorcycle accident and nearly lost his arm. And so he spent like the first year of the pandemic, really rehabbing the arm and kind of like learning how to play drums again. So we weren't being extremely creative during that point, but it has changed the way maybe we approach writing and approach practicing. Practice at this point is kind of like going to the gym. It's like exercise. Like we're going in there to stay in shape and that type of stuff. And it's got a lot more regiment to it. I think that's come out of the motorcycle accidents, come out of the pandemic. And then Ryan is Ryan's somebody who really needs to like have careful time management. So I think he's come out of the pandemic as is understanding when does he need to show up for creative input, when does he need to show up for practice input, when can he not show up, all those like just sort of life management, time management things. Those have happened from the pandemic. It hasn't really affected our creativity all that much, I don't think. But it has, I think, made us a more efficient or a more productive band.
I was working with Anicon's Nolan Voss, who recorded the album and also does guest vocals on the album.
He's fantastic. He's one of my favorite engineers to work with. He is extremely patient, but also has a really good ear for detail. So, like, there's in the song, In the Grip of the Goat Claw, the guitar solo like starts off with like a tapping thing, and we're tracking it, and I was like, I think that sounded good. And I remember him telling me, he was like, in the beginning I couldn't really clearly hear all three notes, like I'm tapping out like a little arpeggio thing, so I couldn't quite, like, you can do it better, so like all those like real little things where I feel like sometimes when you're recording, you like hate on yourself, and you're like, oh, that take sucked, and somebody else is like, what are you talking about? That was fine. Whereas like he was like really getting in there, like I thought it was good. I was like, great, we're done, nailed it. And he was like, no, do it again. So so he's fantastic to work with. I would recommend him for anybody in the New York area. He's got a mobile recording unit. We actually did all the recording, tracked everything in our rehearsal room. And then brought it to a studio to be mixed and mastered.
Working with him, though, do you think that he got something out of this band that maybe somebody else might not have gotten if you guys worked with someone else? Maybe.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's also just like a good friend of ours, so I think he was pretty comfortable in, and he also understands our band and what we're doing. So I think he was pretty comfortable to push us, where we needed to be pushed.
Now, you worked with many guest musicians on this album. Were there a specific song for each musician that you wanted them to do, or did you just let them pick it out?
No, I think we came in with ideas of who would be where, but we, I always want all the guest musicians that are on the record, are our friends, and if I'm going to be making a record, I want to have my creative friends be involved somehow. So Robert, our drummer, his brother plays keyboards on one of the tracks. It's like a family affair, man. You got to have the family there. And then some of our good friends, Nolan, you already mentioned, he does vocals. Owen Runquist, also of Anicon, he does guest vocals on it. We had guest percussion by Mike Nichols, who I mentioned earlier. So lots of great players on this record.
The album cover art was done by Taz, and I cannot pronounce that last name. I'm sorry, Danigaloo. We'll say that.
Yeah.
with the layout by Robert Nelson and Aaron Nichols. How was working with those folks, and did they get exactly what you all were looking for working with them?
Yeah. That was actually a very easy process. We were shopping around for art at one point. Taz is he's a tattoo artist. He's also a musician. He's in a band called Friends of Hell. Right now, he was previously probably most recognizable. He was the bass player in Electric Wizard for a while. And we just came across that piece of art and contacted him about it, and it was very easy to work with. He's been really supportive of the record and is really excited about the layout that we put together. So it's really cool. He was very easy to work with. And in terms of Aaron Nichols, he is a one-man show. He's Nerve Alter Records. He's just a layout design wizard. I mean, he does that stuff professionally. I don't know exactly the capacity that he does, but I mean, he can kick stuff out really quickly. So he's been really helpful. I mean, I text him all the time, like I'll see some posts, some website will post something and I'll be like, Aaron, can you make this a social media post for me? And he shoots it right back up. Because try to take a screenshot on your phone, just looks terrible, So he's great to work with. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's hard for me to post on my phone. I feel like I hate it. I hate posting on my phone. Just give me a PC or a laptop, man. I'm good.
Well, I guess for anybody who's listening, what Aaron told me he does is he won't do it on mobile. He'll go to the web page on the desktop. He'll take a screenshot and then he resizes it somehow, or he cuts and pastes it a little bit to get it into that perfect square or whatever for social media. Yeah. But I think the key is when you're looking at things on the mobile view, it's meant for scrolling. It's not meant for like a presentable picture.
I got to know this though, Sean, man, what's the feedback that's impressed you so far on this album? What's your feedback that you're seeing from the fans that you like? And what are some of the feedback that like some people say you can improve on this? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure. No, I've seen a lot of good feedback. In fact, one of the things that I have been impressed with is that it is apparent to me from several of the online reviews that I've read. There's one, hold on, if I can remember the name, it might come back to me. It's got a funny name, but anyway, it is very apparent to me that people have listened to the record. They're not just giving it a once over or just looking at the press release or anything like that. Like, I can really tell that people have listened to the record. They've digested it. It seems like people are getting what we're doing, which is we're a little bit of a kind of a weird band. We don't fit real nicely into one little genre peg. And that's coming through in the reviews in a positive way. So it seems like people are really connecting with the record and getting it. So that to me is like, the website I was thinking about was called Grizzly Butts. Great review of the record.
But you've got to have an album that is fun. You got to have an album that takes dips and dives and roller coaster and all that good stuff. You got to have flavor on an album. For me, that's what I like. I don't want to hear the same track 1 through 12. It's like, didn't they just play this? You know what I mean? I'm not knocking anybody who does that because a lot of people do that great, but I've got to have flavors and I've got to have that hook to catch me. I'm like, that's good. Yeah,
I agree with you. And we are cognizant of both of those things. I think that there are real benefits to genre rules and genre things. They can help inform your songwriting and what type of style you want to pursue and all that type of stuff. They're certainly important, but I also think it's important to make sure that your product is interesting. Like and I don't care about what other people think. Like, I want to make sure it's interesting for me, and then I hope that comes through for everyone else too.
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourselves working on this album, or maybe just from the get-go? What's impressed you, or maybe that the growth that you've seen that kind of like says, that's interesting from where we started until now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a lot. So Robert and Ryan, the rhythm section, bass and drums, have really focused in on, particularly in this record, on songwriting. I think that these songs are very strong, very I don't want to use the word catchy or something like that, but like the structure of them. A song like Goat Claw is a really just a strong song in any sort of, no matter how you listen to it, any sort of genre. And Rob is a is just a phenomenal arranger. You know, like when we bring riffs to him, you know, sometimes if you feel real passionate about it, so you wrote a song and you want it to go this way and that way, of course, you know, you work together with other people, and he's not going to like veto everything, but usually, you know, he's got such a good ear. Let's take this part, let's put it here, you know. So that's something that I think is we've really coalesced and come together with it's become a real strength of ours in terms of songwriting. And then also over the last probably like 5 years or so, I started taking guitar lessons with Kevin Huffnagel, who is from Dysrhythmia. He's in Gorguts right now, a really phenomenal player, and one of the nicest dudes, best teachers. And that was something that I really wanted to push myself on, just in terms of guitar playing. You know, I when you're in your 20s and you've been playing guitar for 10 or 15 years, you know, you're like, yeah, I'm the best, man. But you know, you get a little bit older and you realize that maybe you're not the best and that you can get better. And I think that is really clear too in this record. Is, you know, I put a lot of time into these guitar solos, really practiced a lot, and I hope that comes through. So we're certainly a band that is always looking to grow and improve, you know, in any sort of way. I mean, when we practice, you know.
Yeah, and the day that you stop saying, I don't need to practice, I don't need to learn anymore, it's over.
Right. Yeah. It is.
It's you never can stop learning and growing, because you learn something and you do something every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
What's your thoughts on getting on the road and supporting this album with everything going on right now? I know some things are opening up some, but what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's been difficult. We haven't planned a long tour. We typically probably would have planned a longer tour, like, you know, something 2 or 3 weeks or whatnot, and really tried to cover some ground. Instead, we've kind of opted for shorter bursts, and we're going to try to stagger some things out. So we just completed a 4-day run with a number of bands, a band from California called Vorlust, and they were kind of the impetus of this short tour, because they wanted to come out. They're good friends of ours. It's fronted by this, like, you know, excellent performer. Her name's Marcel. She writes the songs, sings, plays bass, and this is like a gnarly death metal band. And her partner is Sonny, who plays guitar in Necrot, and he plays guitar in this band too. So his lead work is like unparalleled. He's probably like one of the best guitar players in general right now. So they came out to the East Coast. Robert organized the tour with some friends of ours from Philadelphia, Spider and Loud Night from Richmond, Virginia. And we just did a 4-day run from Brooklyn, Philly. We hit Brooklyn, Philly, DC, and Richmond. And man, every show was really good. So how I feel about things opening up and getting back together, like, I don't know, it still seems hard to like really commit, like, oh, I'm gonna book a month-long tour for 4 months from now. I don't know what the world's gonna be like 4 months from now.
Yeah.
But we're gonna continue to get out there and play shows, and you know, we're gonna try to do the West Coast, maybe this summer or in the fall. We are in talks with some people about going up to Canada. We've been trying to get to Europe for quite some time, but COVID really put a damper on that. Yeah. So we certainly, we're going to continue touring and continue playing shows in New York, obviously. We have a few shows booked this summer, and we'll see where it goes from there.
What do you hope everyone takes away while listening to Skullshitter's music in general, and plus this album? What do you hope they get from it, man? Oh,
I just hope that people feel inspired in some sort of way. I mean, that's whenever I'm writing music or writing lyrics, or, you know, if I'm playing guitar and I'm trying to write something, or even if I'm, you know, I just got something going in my head, it's usually because something has inspired me. I listened to a record, I was reading a book, I was watching a movie, and it cracked, something cracked in my brain and said, oh, I gotta take this idea and I gotta run with it. So that's really what I hope that people take away when they're listening to Skullshitter, that maybe they get that same experience too.
Is there a song that you want to add to the set list live that's not been never played before live?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I would say I'll give you a good answer for this one. There's a song called Locus of Death. It's the last song on the record, and it's got a big guitar, like almost like a lead. It's not a solo, but it's like a lead at the end of it, and it has a harmony on top of it too. So we're a 3-piece band. There's no way we're going to be able to play this live. But I have in the back of my mind this dream that like at some point we could do like a big show. We probably do it in Brooklyn because just because of logistics, but where we have Robert's brother come play keyboards with us, have a couple of our friends like Nolan, who recorded this record. He's also an excellent guitar player. Like have like kind of like a friends and family show where we have like a bunch of people come in and we could do things like really do them big. And that would be a song where if we had, 2 or 3 more people, we could really do it big.
Hey man, don't give up. They're in your backyard. So there you go. I know you had a lot of music growing up and I still do to this day, but do you still have a go-to album or maybe just a song that you find yourself going back to, Sean, and listening to from time to time that you have to listen to it, man?
Good question. I mean, my brain is like immediately going to Slayer again because like they were just so formative when I was growing up. But let me think if I can get something else. I think to answer your question, I would say the Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. That's a song that gets stuck in my head a lot. And that record, I'm not crazy about the record start to finish, but there's some really cool guitar work on that record by guitar player Jake E. Lee.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a song called Waiting for Darkness on that record that I play that riff a lot. It's like a good warm-up riff for me. So like it is, it's those 2 songs kind of end up in my head a lot. And when you get a song stuck in your head, you have to just go and listen to it. So I'd say that's a record from my childhood that I go back to pretty frequently.
So what about the last 2? Well, the last Ozzy album and plus this one's getting ready to come out. Are you excited for this new one? And have you got to listen to the previous one?
Yeah, I would actually probably just say no to both of those in truth. I certainly would check them out. It's kind of been off my radar. The stuff that I've heard from him, I mean, even in the late 90s and stuff like that, I was kind of losing interest. I remember there was some record that came out in the early 2000s, I think with Zakk Wylde or something, but the Black Label Society, that whole thing, it just never really connected with me. But I got a special place in my heart for all that music, all those guys. So I certainly would listen to it. But no, it hasn't been on my radar.
All right, Sean, how can folks stay in touch with you? Everything on Skullshitter, buy this new album, Goat Claw, everything, man. How can they do this? Plus tour dates, all that good stuff. How can they do this, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got a very particular band name. So if any sort of Googling of the word Skullshitter, you will find us. Social media, just at Skullshitter, there we are. So very easy to connect with us. Skullshitter@gmail.com if you want to email us. But a lot of people will message us on Facebook or message us on Instagram, and that's fine. I will undoubtedly see it and get back to you. And we've got a Bandcamp page where skullshitter.bandcamp.com, or maybe it's the other way around, however it is, bandcamp.skullshitter, whatever. But if you Google Skullshitter, you'll find us. You can buy it directly from you can buy the LP from us. You can buy it from Nerve Alter, the record label. So very easy to come by. Just want to say thank you, John, for having us on. We appreciate it.
Not a problem. And I'll have all the links in the interview when I post it. All the links will be there. And before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Yeah, sure. Hey, this is Sean from Skullshitter, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link, and subscribe to that YouTube link, folks, because I need the subscribers and the views. I'm begging, folks. I'll give you all high fives, eat a bologna sandwich with you. I've been threatening to eat bologna sandwich with anybody, so you know what? I'll do that. So anyway, please get out and check out Skullshitter, pick up Goat Claw, pick up all this new stuff from them. Listen to their music. I know that you guys and gals will find one song at least that you'll dig. And also to my affiliates, thank you all so much. Forum Obscura, get out and check those out. It's a magazine that has obscure art plus all kinds of musicians. Plus Skullshitter should be in that one too. I'll talk to Riley and he'll hit you up.
All right.
Also to Metal Incorporated, check out Metal Incorporated and Diary of the Madman, the ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast. And to Sean, thank you guys so much, man. I truly appreciate you for doing this.
Thank you, John. We played in Kentucky once. If we're back again, I'll certainly hit you up. Please connect with us on the socials.
You got it, my friend.
All right.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.